It's good pepper. In this video, I'm gonna give you all of my life hacks to make the best ribs in the world. In all of my years of smoking ribs, I learned so much. And there's a real science behind making good barbecue ribs. And today I'm going to show you exactly what to do and what not to do. A good set of ribs always starts with good ingredients, and that's meat. You want to get the right rack of ribs. There are two kinds, the belly ribs and the spare rib. The spare rib is the one that lays on top, sits here, and the loin sits on top of it. That's why the spare rib is so cheap originally. You see, if the loin sits on top, they cut the loin off because it's a more expensive cut of meat. Then what you're left with is a skinny bit of meat that sits on top of bones. So basically it's a waste product. And that's the authentic spare rib. These days you can also get them with extra meat on, but they have to cut into the loin for that. That makes the spare ribs more expensive, and basically you're paying for something that's not really spare ribs. So I do recommend it if you want to get the perfect rib and if you like a bit of extra meat. But you're going away from the authentic idea of having cheap meat on your barbecue. So in this case, I have without the thick layer of meat on top. This is the original skinny waste product. You can see the bones, but there's still a lot of meat in between. So we're sticking to the original part. Let me show you how to prepare them. Before you can start seasoning your ribs, you need to prepare them first. I'm going to use my dinner knife to wedge in between the bone and the membrane. Working my way to the other side and then putting my finger through and pulling the whole thing off. Trim off the ends to make it look good. Now that the ribs are prepped, we need to start talking about flavor, adding flavor to the ribs. And you have a lot of choices. There are all kinds of regions in America, and in this region they do it that way, in the other region they do it that way. You can have your own choice, you can have your own preference, but what I've learned is that if you keep it simple, your ribs most of the time turn out better. That might not sound very special, but it's as special as you make it, because you got salt and pepper in your cabinet. But do you have the right salt? Do you have what it takes? For instance, I like to use fleur de sel, which is a light sea salt. It's so delicate, it's almost fluffy. But what makes it really special? When you cook with it, it kind of melts away. And it builds up a structure, but at the same time it disappears. So it turns your ordinary ribs into amazing ribs. And of course, to that we're going to add fresh ground black pepper. It's as simple as that. This stuff is amazing. And I can't get enough of it. It's good pepper. My absolute favorite. You can even grill your ribs with just salt and pepper. They're going to turn out amazing. My second favorite option is my classic American barbecue rub. It consists of paprika powder, onion powder, garlic powder, black pepper and salt. And the quality of the ingredients that I use in this rub are not as high-end as I use for salt and pepper, because here it's about flavor. There are a lot of other options that you have, but what you don't want to do is go crazy. I've seen rubs that are extensive, list of 12, 13, 14, 15 ingredients. I've done it myself, but in the end you're going to be paying a lot for that rub, and the results, not that spectacular. You kind of get lost in what the intention of the food is. Do you actually taste the pork ribs? No, because you got too much craziness going on. Do you actually taste the rub? No, because there's not one thing standing out. And if you use salt and pepper, paprika powder and onion powder, then the message is clear. You're making barbecue. This might not look important, but it's a big step. We're gonna apply the rub and I'm gonna use these shakers. They're homemade shakers from Nutella jars. I got one cap that's gonna seal, which allows me to shake it up and mix the rub really well. And I got one cap with holes in it. And that makes this the perfect shaker. With salt and pepper, you do not need to over season. But when you add a barbecue rub, you want a lot of flavor on it so you can go all in. You don't need a binder like olive oil or mustard. The salt will draw out moisture from the ribs and let the rub stick. If you're looking for the exact amount of my rib rubs, you can always find them on our website, www.pitmasterx.com. With that out of the way, let's fire up our barbecue. I'm gonna be cooking my ribs on the Kamado Joe Big Joe, and I'm gonna set it up for indirect heat. Now, you might not be cooking on the Kamado Joe Big Joe, but look up how you need to set up your grill just specifically to smoke ribs, because it's important, it matters. You wanna have indirect heat and you wanna have smoke. Now I'm gonna show you how we do it on the Big Joe. I like to use hardwood. This is super hard stuff. If you bang it together, you get a sound like that. And this stuff will burn for a long time, which is important. If you're cooking ribs, you're gonna be cooking around 4 to 5 hours. I'm not gonna load up my Big Joe all the way. I'm just gonna make a small layer at the bottom. If I would have put more charcoal in it, it would have allowed me to cook for a longer time, but also it would have made it harder to control the temperature. This is more than enough for a 4 or 5 hour cook, because the ceramic grills are really efficient. Now we need to light up the charcoal. And you can use a blowtorch like this to light up the charcoal, or a bigger one, but it's going to take at least a minute to a minute and a half to get the charcoal lit with that. And in the meantime, you could be doing something else. So you could put in chunks like this. This is a brown natural fire starter, all natural ingredients, or you can use one of these. And I prefer these. This is wood wool with wax, and they burn very well. They give a big flame, a lot of energy. With hardwood lump charcoal, you definitely need the heat of one of these. I want to make sure my charcoal catches fire, so I'll build up a little wall around it, and I'm only gonna need one fire starter. We don't need a lot of heat in the beginning, we just need a little bit of startup. There's one thing that I don't want you to do. I don't want you to use starter fluids that have chemicals in them, or these white starter cubes that have chemicals as well. Definitely stay away from the chemicals. They will make your barbecue smell and eventually make your food smell. Yeah. Now it's time for me to select my smokewood. And when I'm selecting smokewood, I've got in mind who I'm cooking for. If I'm cooking for Dutch people, I'm always gonna go for a local wood, and you should do the same, no matter where you live. Select a local wood for smoking, because in general, people are used to that smoke flavor on meat, and they will prefer that smoke flavor. In the Netherlands, we prefer oak and beech, and this is beech. Beech is perfect for cooking, and at the same time, it's perfect for smoking. So I'm gonna be using this, but I can also use, for instance, applewood, a fruit wood, because we're smoking pork. A chunk like this. Beautiful applewood, light and fruity in flavor. What I don't want to do is do something crazy, like for instance use pecan, or hickory in my case, because that's from the other side of the pond. Now if you live there and this is a local wood, definitely use it. But Dutch people, if you give them pecan or hickory, they don't appreciate that flavor. They will experience it as a strong smoke flavor. Whereas oak and beech, they will experience as it's something that they're used to and they appreciate. That's the important part you need to think about. Then, you can already see I have big chunks laying around. What I don't want to do is use wood chips. Wood chips are generally great for gas grills, but not for charcoal barbecues, because they will deliver smoke in a small doses. Not for a longer period of time, just a short period of time. You can give it a great burst, works really well, but not for longer cooks, like 4 to 5 hours like we're doing with the ribs. I'm gonna chop up a piece of this, and I'm gonna add it to our charcoal. I got the smoke wood in, we got a small fire in the center, and it will start up my smoke wood and slowly but gradually go outwards. Keep on smoking that meat. Now we need to set up our grill. With the Big Joe, I'm first going to set in my spider. Then I'm going to put on my heat deflectors. These heat deflectors will keep the direct heat away from our meat and making sure that they don't dry out. Now I'm going to put on the grill grates, and then it's time to put in our ribs. Once your ribs start picking up smoke color, you're heading in the right direction. But you want to make sure that they get the flavor that you're looking for. I always look for a mahogany brown color. And once they've got that, you know you can start with the next question. Because this is the moment that you're going to decide if you want to keep it natural, if you want to spray your ribs, or if you want to sauce your ribs. The main thing that I want to give away is, if you're going to spray them in the smoking phase. If you're going to sauce them, you move that to the total end of the cooking period. So it's just when they're almost finished, just layer on a little bit of barbecue sauce, warm that sauce up on the ribs, and that's it. For now, just a little bit of spray will do. And if you're looking for a good spray recipe, of course, we got a lot of them. As a matter of fact, we're currently doing a lot of testing, and you can find all of our recipes on our website, www.pitmasterx.com. I already said that in this video. I'm gonna say it again. Pitmaster. Now, it's time to start wrapping your meat. Yes, we gotta wrap it. Yes, I've tested it. Yes, it's true. We gotta do it. Let's wrap our ribs. Because I found that with extensive testing, the best way to keep your ribs moist and juicy is to wrap them during the cooking process. And for wrapping, you got two options: aluminum foil or butcher's paper. Both are gonna work fine. I've tested this extensively. You will not notice the difference between butcher's paper and aluminum foil. And the reason that you can't experience the difference is that the cooking period wrapped for ribs is not long enough. If you're cooking brisket or beef ribs, it definitely makes a difference, but with spare ribs, no, doesn't make a difference. So choose whatever you like. These are our natural ribs. Of course, you need to know when you should be wrapping these ribs. Personally, I like to wrap my ribs once I like the smoke color. If they turn mahogany red, if you can clearly see the color change, that's when you know you can wrap them. Normally, 1.5 hours of smoke on ribs should do the trick. Of course, it also depends how much smoke wood you're actually using. And that's why the color is the best indication. Now, I know a lot of you guys also wonder, where do you get your aluminum foil? I order my aluminum foil at a specialist. And that's where I get the extra thick, extra large aluminum foil. And once you got them all wrapped up again, it's time for them to go back on the barbecue, because they need to continue to cook until they're completely done. Yes. Not the 3-2-1 method. It's more like 1.5 and an hour, or 1.5 and 2 hours, depending on how cooked they are. And how do you know when they're done? I'm going to show you later on. Time to get the ribs off and check them out to see if they're done. My preferred method is to use my probe thermometer, my core thermometer. Not to measure the temperature, but just to let them sink into the meat and check out if they're done or not. And if you have too much resistance, like a little resistance is good. Too much resistance, no good. If you like them fall off the bone, you should be able to just tear the ribs. These are not tear up ribs. Not yet, because we're gonna have just that little bit of bite on our ribs. Now let's take a look inside. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Look at that great smoke color. Oh, fantastic. Juicy still. Now these ribs are not that thick, so you're not gonna have the whole smoke ring thing, except you're gonna have everything pink. This is the authentic idea behind the rib. Waste turned into gold. Now if you want to make ribs like this, you saw this video and you need some recipes, check out our website. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Big thank you to our patrons and our YouTube members. If you enjoyed it, then leave us a big thumbs up and a comment down below. If you have a different way of making ribs yourself and you want to let us know about it, hey, there's the comment section. We love to hear about it. We love trying new things. Hope you enjoyed it. See you guys next time. Until then, eet smakelijk.
Keep on grilling.
A little bit louder.
Keep on grilling.
They can't hear you. Come on.
Are you gonna eat that? Am I going to eat that?
Oh, this is great.